Hello guys and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be showing you how to play another board game that is classic chess. And as you can notice, the board looks different now. It's because I got a new 10 game set, which I'll show you more games how to play later. So first, if you haven't saw my how to play checkers video, go check it out once you're done watching this. I'll put the link in the description. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm gonna first open up my pieces and then I'll show you what them and how they move. So first things first, the goal of chess is to checkmate your opponent's king. And we'll explain checkmate right now. First things first, I'm going to show you all the pieces on how they move. So first off, this is a pawn. This is a pawn. So the chessboard is laid out 8 by 8. Oh, and make sure that the bottom right corner is a dark square. I mean this square. Make sure it's a light square. So let's place a pawn on the board. For example, I'm gonna place the pawn right here, there, and it's now that's on the board. I'm gonna show you how it moves. So pawns can only move one square at a time forward. They can never move backwards. So here's a pawn move. There, as you can see, it moved one square forward. And however, pawns cannot travel backwards. Pawns are the pieces that can only move forward. It can't move to the side or diagonally. However, there is one time where they can move diagonally. And I'll show you that right now. So, for example, let's place the pawn back. Now, however, if it is a pawn's first move, like if there is a pawn on this row, if there's a pawn on this row, then it is allowed to move 2 steps forward instead of just 1. You know, moving 2 steps forward on the pawn's first move is optional. Like, you don't have to do it, but I would recommend doing it. So here's the move. However, after you do the 2-step move or cancel it, that pawn can now still only move 1 square forward at a time. I don't want to spend too much time talking about the pawn, so let's move on. So the next piece I want to show you is gonna be the rook. This is a rook. It looks like a tower. Here. This is a rook. So let's place it on the board. Rooks can move. So rooks can move in straight lines, horizontally or vertically. However, they cannot move diagonally. So I'm going to show you some rook moves. So I can move the rook over here, and I can move the rook all the way up on the board here, and make some shorty moves here, 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 and here. Once again, rooks can move horizontally or vertically, as many spaces that you want for the rook. That's all for a rook. And then the next piece I'm going to show you, and guys, this next piece is not going to move in some sort of straight line. So I'm going to show you. Like now, this next piece will not move in a straight line. And that next piece is a knight or horsey. I know that's funny, but whatever you want to call it, it's a knight. It looks like a horse, but it's a knight. I mean, you can still call it a horse if you would like. So let's place the knight on the board. So make sure you listen to this part carefully on how to move the knight. So the knight will move 2 squares to the like a rook, and then 1 square at a 90-degree angle set the letter looks like a letter L. In fact, I even had a trick that I learned. So if we place the knight here, you can do 1 space to a rook and 1 space to the bishop. That is the next piece that I will show you. So yeah, 1 to rook and 1 to the bishop. One more time. 1 to the rook and 1 to the bishop. There. That is all the knight can do. Oh, and also, there is one more thing about the knight. Unlike the pieces I recently showed you, the knight is the only piece that can jump over other pieces. It doesn't matter if you jump over your piece or your opponent's piece. Yeah, knights are the only pieces that can jump over other pieces. Like for example, the knight can jump here. Now, just because you jumped at an opponent's piece doesn't mean you capture it. That's just a rule. So yeah. Pieces are not allowed to jump over other pieces except this piece, the knight. That is all for the knight. The next piece I'm going to show you is a bishop. I'm going to get the piece. There, I found it. The bishop. Yes. And one more thing I forgot to say about the knight is that it always changes colors. Let me get it again. There. So before we completely move on, if we place the knight here, look, remember that changes colors. So he's currently on the dark square, but if we do an L shape, then he goes to light square. L shape again, dark square. So the knight always changes colors if you move it. As you move it. Next up is the bishop. This is the bishop. It can only move diagonally, but it can move as many spaces as you would like. So I'm going to show you some bishop moves. So we move it here, 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 and we move it here. And as you can see, as I'm moving the bishop, it always stays on the same color. Just like pieces in checkers, if you watched my How to Play Checkers video. So yeah, the bishop always stays on the same squares it can move to. And this piece cannot jump over other pieces. Okay? So we are on to our last 2 pieces. So the next piece I will be showing you is gonna be, so on our last 2 pieces, of course. So the next piece I'm gonna show you is the most important one, king. The king. The king is the most important pieces in the game. So make sure you're being gentle on moving it. So the king can move in any direction, but only one square at a time. It can move diagonally, horizontally, or vertically, but remember, only one square at a time. And there is one important rule for the king. Like, for example, we get a black rook. There's both black and white pieces in chess. So we take a king move like this. Here, 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 and here. But however, as you can see, I placed the black rook. However, the king cannot move to check, which we'll explain right now. And the check is when an opponent's piece is threatening it. So as you remember, rooks can move horizontally or vertically in any number of spaces. So the king cannot move to these two squares because they're attacked by black's rook. So yeah, that's all for the king for now. Then there's just one more piece left, and that is the most powerful piece, and it is the best piece ever in the game, and that is the queen. So the queen is like the king, but it's more powerful in a way. So the queen can move any number of spaces horizontally, vertically, and diagonally. A number of spaces. And that's what makes the queen so powerful. Now, since a king can do the same thing but only one square at a time, the queen can move to a space where it can be threatened. But I'll recommend doing that because it's the most powerful piece. So yeah. Okay. So here are some queen moves. Here, 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 and here. So yeah. Unlike the queen and king, it can also not jump over other pieces. So yeah. Now that I've showed you how to move the pieces, so in order to start playing a game, you will need to first learn how you set up the board. So in your chess sets, you should have 32 pieces, 16 for each color, 2 rooks, 2 knights, 2 bishops, 1 king, and 1 queen. So now I'm going to show you how to set up the board. So on this row, as you can see my finger, on this row, you are going to place all of your pawns. Remember, they look like this. So you're going to be placing them on the board. I'm going to get more pawns to finish it up. And also make sure you have 8 pawns, because there are 8 squares in each row. And also a reminder that I'm gonna be returning to school tomorrow, so I won't be able to upload that much, but I'll still show you how to play board games. So just to let you know, let's continue setting up the game of chess. So as you can see on that row, 8 pawns. You should have 8 pawns in the game. Now next up, the bottom row is where you're going to place all of your special pieces. And they are in a certain way. So you're going to place your rooks into the corners of the board. You are going to place your rooks on these 2 squares. these two squares. This square and this square. You're gonna place your rooks there. So my rooks are there. It's time for the knights. The knights are gonna be placed next to the rooks. As you can see, the knights are next to the rooks. Then you are gonna place your two bishops next to the knights. So your bishops should be placed next to the knights, and then the two empty squares is where you're gonna place your queen and the king. Depending on what color you're gonna get, you're gonna place those two pieces in a certain way. So if you are using a white queen like me, then you will put your queen on the light square. If you are using a black queen, then you will place it on a dark square. And there, now that the board is set up for white, we have set it up for you. I'm gonna set up the board for black really quick. So, follow me. So as you can see, on the 7th row from my perspective, I'm gonna place black's pawns. So we're gonna place the pawns on the 2nd row of your perspective. And then on the 1st row of your perspective, you're gonna do the same thing. So for black, you're gonna do the same thing as white pieces, except you're gonna place your queen on the dark square and king on the light square. So it's the exact same thing. Remember that the rooks go on the corners, and the knights go next to the rooks. The knights go next to the rooks. Then you're gonna get the bishops. And then place your queen on the dark square if you're using black. Place your queen on the light square if you're using white. And as you can see, the board is all complete. So you're ready to start playing your game. But wait, we're not quite done yet, as I still need to show you some more rules. Now, since this video is already too long, I'll come back later to show you the rules.